I'm on my second contract. Did you see me walk about it? No, I've never. You never know?
That was the,
Recording in progress.
recording. Thanks, Frank. So the first thing up would be the, abstract approval. That's for what abstract? 13
And one.
and 1. So I'll do that.
Councilperson Dryden.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, and then next up is a public hearing on the fire department contracts. The notice was for Neptune 595, 503. Florida Volunteer Fire Company at 448,000. And WB Strong with Freeville 397, 448. What we have, so if there's any, I grabbed the right here, was, and this is a repeat of what we did last month, because we had, was a notice issue last month.
Yeah. So there's nobody who signed in on the speaker list, they just are signed in on the initial attendance list.
Yeah, so I'll take that, let's go down that one, because figure we get all this, we got. I understand that probably people hear about that as well, so feel free to come up and talk about him, comment about that too. And the I think when we go to vote on the contract, it's going to be individually, so it's not as approved. So first up, looks like Rebecca Moore.
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
You're good? Okay. Martin. Nope. Thank you. Frank Parker. Chris O'Connor. Danielle. McGuire.
Yes, and no, thank you.
Brian.
Bethany Asperger.
Asperger. Yeah.
Also, thank you.
Sorry. Sorry, I can't read this next one. 150 Lower Creek Road, that's,
It's me,
how is, yeah, what's your name?
Cynthia Martin.
Cynthia, okay. Do you wanna, did you want to speak at all?
No, I
Okay.
just did the sign and sheet.
So you're next. Okay. Chris Doan.
Hello, my name is Chris Stone. I live at 216 Hatton Road. We just found out about this within a few days ago that this was a decision. I've talked to a lot of people that live on the road. We'd like for you to maintain funding for the Etna Fire Department. The whole reason that the Etna Fire Department came along in the 60s was because we weren't getting fire response. And it started out with a single truck that was bought from this department and in a metal shack on the side of the building, and they've done a lot for the community and still do. They're first responders. There may be times when people can't come in and get there, but the local people around our area like the fact that they are on Wood Road. We want to keep that.
Thank you. Carol Nelson,
No, okay.
Steve Foot.
No, thanks.
Pretty Ferguson.
That'd be me. Yes, I want to speak.
Cool, thank you.
Scott Putnam.
Yeah, I couldn't read your. Sorry.
Well, got ears. Okay. I like to talk, so this may be a little bit longer than 3 minutes.
What's your name?
Scott Putnam. I used to be a very active member of Aetna, that I had some health issues, and
Depending on how this goes, I may be getting back into the active category again. Anyway, you guys know what one of the greatest adversaries of a volunteer fighter, just a lot here tonight, volunteer firefighter and officer in charge, what's one of the greatest adversaries? I'm on the clock here, so.
If you just address comments to us, because we're not.
Okay.
Just let us know what you, something.
Time. Time is the greatest, one of our greatest adversaries. When I was an officer, whenever we got a call, I always felt like I was fighting time, because we're always fighting to get to the station, we're on, always on the radio talking to people, we got 1,000 steps we're trying to do in our head. And making decisions on the road, and trying to get to scenes as fast as possible, but I'm gonna talk about time a little bit more later here. What's happening in Etna isn't unique, just Etna. You know, since 2020, there's been a great loss of over 200,000 volunteers. And I'm sure some of you know that. At least I hope you know that. Now, I highly doubt that you guys are taking away Etna's funding and forcing them to stop going to calls because of their inability to handle numerous variations of calls that they get called to. I don't think it's because you feel that they're incapable, but I gotta tell you, sure it feels that way. Felt like that for decades. We've been feeling this from departments all around us, trying to get our area, time and time and again. It's always been a fight. So why else would the town want to take it away? Because I couldn't make it to a few calls, and from what I hear from our numbers that I got, it's just a few calls. It's rescue calls at that. So I want to talk about a few things here. When our rescue truck doesn't go out, Dryden is always going to our calls as a backup. And a lot of times when our truck didn't go out, I don't know any other way of saying this, but there were Band-Aid calls. And for a lot of the most active members, it's hard going to all those calls. Sometimes when you get back home and then get another call to go right, it's hard. I mean, gosh, some of us have businesses, jobs, and everything else we're doing. It's hard to juggle going to all those calls, even though they're important to us. We want to go to them all, we just can't. So, and I'm gonna get solutions later, so just bear with me here. Every week as recorded times that everyone is at the station for a truck check, meetings, fixing a leaky roof and getting the furnace running, which is always, somebody's always a thing, but anyway. The recorded times of trainings in-house and with other area departments. Members are also taking the time away from their families to get their certifications, just so they can do their absolute best to help the community, and that's what it's all about. Helping the community. That's why they show up every week for simple things as truck checks and stuff like that, because those checking those trucks are important and make sure they get to the calls. So they were there every week. So why is funding being taken away? I'm gonna skip over some of this stuff. Let's see. I thought the town was supposed to help the volunteer fire departments, not take away the community's fire department that they started. As this gentleman said before, let's think of something else. The lack of personnel showing up to a call, especially working fires, is an overwhelming task for all fire departments around the country. So after all they have done, why would we want to close departments that have worked hard to provide for the community, especially without notice? I can tell you why. I have dealt with this when I was active. As I said, the area departments continually trying to get our area. We feel it's very political. No other reason. They want to take advantage of Edna's lapse of going to calls and take over their district. Why? Because the more the more area the fire department has, the more money they get from you guys. Sadly, this has nothing to do with helping the community of Edna. So if you have certain people running around and complaining about the same thing over and over again, people start to believe what they say without knowing the facts. Feels like there's a lot of backroom meetings going on. I do have a question I would like answered. That's why I got it right here. I would like to know how many letters or complaints you have received from the community of Etna about the lack of response from the fire department. Has there been any? None? 1? 20? None at all? So why? Why?
We get complaints, yes.
Yeah,
We're
About
not
us
at liberty to
About
disclose.
Etna not showing up for calls?
Yeah.
How many?
Not going into this. You asked me a
Why not?
question, I answered it.
Why not? I'm a taxpayer. I pay my taxes. I have a right to know that.
Say this, calls are being responded to, but they're overwhelmingly being responded to by the other departments. So, people are getting help, but it's not necessarily from the fire department.
That's what I'd like to know. How many letters are we getting? Because that would be a good thing for us to know. We want to know that there's all these backroom meetings going on, just trying to get us kicked out, because it's been going on like this for 30 years.
Some meetings going on, but they have to see, they have to go through email, to see a number of the letters. But
Well, it just doesn't seem right that this would just all of a sudden come up and we lose our
my
funding.
understanding is this has been a kind of thing that's been from time to time, and not, you know, not exclusive.
Oh, I'm not saying this isn't an issue.
I mean,
This
it's my
is an
understanding
issue.
that this has been,
This
this
is,
has come up even 20 years ago.
you're right, it has.
Right, so-
We've had a problem with rescue calls, but not fire calls. We've made fire calls. That's, so I don't understand why you'd want to cut out all of that.
Just to.
Let me finish up, 'cause I want to
I
get,
got 2 more pages of people I gotta go through too.
and I want to get to the solutions.
So I just wanna,
So let me finish up. What has the town done to help fire departments gain more personnel, or do you prefer simply closing them when you choose to? Wouldn't it look better to the good people in our community, villages, towns, counties, and state, to see the town do something besides take things away that has potential to cause loss of life? Wouldn't it look better to work with the departments that are risking their lives? All these men and women in here, no, I'm not paper here, but all these men and women here are risking their lives every day. They do their absolute best to get themselves trained, spill their blood, and I can say that because I've had my blood spilled, go on the calls and stuff like that. It's a lot of work. So what I would like, how about brainstorming some ideas of hope instead of loss? How about coming up with ideas that can be used countywide, statewide, or even more so? I'm sure you guys know this, but do you know what the #1 cause of death is in fire departments? EMT knows all this. Sudden cardiac death. What's going to happen when Barney or Freeville are covering a major fire in Etna, and then another major fire springs up in their area? We all know it can and does happen. What happens to the heart, especially to those in charge? The heart gets stressed to the max on top of what's already doing with the current fire. The heart and personnel can only take so much. This plan is putting personnel at risk for more heart problems. I ask you, is it worth it? So back to time. I'm almost to the solutions. Bear with me.
okay, I'm gonna wrap it up in a minute, just
I'll
because.
work it
Right now,
out.
we're.
I will when I get done.
I'm gonna wrap it up in a minute because there's other people.
What you're looking to do is you're testing time. How do you
Sir,
expect to
it's
handle?
not, it's not
You need,
polite to other people
I-
waiting to speak to.
but you're interrupting me. I could be almost done here.
Time, they can take my time.
It's
Thank you.
just, there's other folks who want to have a chance to talk to it, so.
And these guys would like to hear solutions other than a fire department being taken away. Yes?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. May I continue?
You got 1 minute, sure.
I'm gonna need two. All right, so potential fixes. First thing is get back their funds, give them their annual funds. And without laughing or rolling your eyes, I want you to listen to this. Give them an extra $30,000 for a ready room and 2 with the potential of 4 bunk room additions, so they can have people at the station during the day when it's most needed. That is something that is essential. And I'm gonna get into that. Have someone work with them to gain information. I'll be happy to work on this with somebody. Gain information on how to get people to go to schools around here, TC3, Cornell, that can be utilized to man the station when they have time. Varna has a program. I know there's gotta be somebody from Varna here. Varna has a program that seems to work. Why not help Edna utilize something like that with formatted to Edna's needs? These are also some other ideas we could help to attract people in, to help us. Offer some insurance perks, tax rebates of some kind. Work with the Office of Fire Prevention and Control and the governor. And again, I'm willing to do all this if I can have some help on ways we can better support our communities, make state training a little more easier to get done, time-wise. One way we work with the state is to have people interested in expanding their skills in a paid position. First, work with departments like ours. So basically, they'd be getting trained before they actually go to paid jobs. They can gain their skills, get training, and man the calls during the day. Idea is to start community, this is just no solution. Start community outreach as soon as possible to gain more personnel. There are ways of making this right and looking good while you do it. It's up to you. If you want to tear apart everything the good people back in the fire department and the community has worked towards. Stop the threats, backroom meetings, and help them all be all they can be. Let's do something everyone can be proud of with heart. With all heart, I know some of you aren't listening. There is hope. Let's try to make some hope for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Better. Here's the. That's the wrong turn.
My grandmother can take my place and speak.
Okay.
Now you all know who I am. I'm here again to ask for you to reconsider your decision to contract with the Etna Fire Department. The town needs to have all its volunteers. And taking away the volunteers that we have at the department is just detrimental to the town, and it does no justice for the community. Next, I want to point out that Dryden got on the map for doing the FEMA grant, as Dan puts it. We're on the map for this big extraordinary thing. Now you're going to be put on the map for wanting to close down the volunteer fire department that had 3 people in VFO class that was pushed out because we didn't have a contract, so the state won't let them continue. We had 2 people in CFR that now has to take a state exam and everything. We had a department being set up next door to our department to help with these EMS calls, to try to get people from Cornell. We actively had people at Cornell trying to get people to be there. That all went because no contract, no communication. When you guys decided not to contract, we brought you paperwork that said, these are the calls we've been on. We didn't do it from a spreadsheet. We didn't do it from anything but a program that is what we send to the state. So there was no communication. On December 28th, I sent an email with a compromise. I heard nothing from any of you for that email. Not to say, no, we're not going to consider it or anything. that tells me that you guys don't care. You know, today, when there's fires, we need every fire truck in this community. There's not any time that we've had a huge fire that there hasn't been every fire truck on the scene and every member there doing their part. And I'm gonna ask you again to reconsider, because you guys need to have our apparatus. We need to volunteer. People who volunteer do it for a reason. They do it because they have a passion for volunteering for this community. And you're gonna take that away from all the members of the fire department. So I ask you to reconsider. I'm asking you, that's true, as I asked on the 19th, if you, if the answer is no, then the town hears the answer is no.
We followed the process at our last meeting, and the way we voted did not allow or mandate for a discussion.
Okay, so you're admitting on record that you said you would address, and then you moved and didn't address. You addressed Brookendale and
Follow the process.
so yes, you didn't respond. Maybe.
Not a
Mason Gabriel.
no, I think.
Since the beginning, or something just happened? Just one of the mics, you see? It's
Can
usually.
you hear now? I don't know why. It's on Zoom for some reason.
USB mic, which is where our feed is coming in, is no longer a possible microphone, so.
That's the.
Yeah, sure, just. Yeah, so that is, yeah. And, but yeah, that has been since the beginning.
She can hear now, so, okay. Good, thanks. Okay, so, Tom did, no, Mark Bell,
I just want to give our call stats for December. And also for the end of the year. So December was 39 calls, excuse me, and total for the year was 466.
well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And then last person on the list. It's like 3 Robin Lane, who's that? Your. I just can't read what your,
Billy Grant.
Billy, okay,
I would just like to say that I think what you guys are looking to do is a huge mistake. I don't see how any of you can sit up there and even consider the idea of taking down a volunteer fire department. When I have it on good authority, there was a department, I believe it was Varna, ran for 5 years with a single member, one member. And y'all didn't have the balls to go at them and shut them down. Instead, you tried to help them. So you got a department that missed a few calls. They're struggling with manpower, whatever the case may be. Is it really in the best interest of not only the taxpayers that live there, but myself as a fellow volunteer firefighter for a neighboring district? You take them out, we've got to wait additional time for more trucks. So seriously, what are you guys gaining out of this besides a few more dollars in your pocket? Or maybe a few more dollars for another department? You've got folks that get up every day and are willing to take the time out of their lives. No paycheck, their time, their gas. They'll drive 3/4 of the way across the fucking county to get to a truck. Would you folks do that? Would any one of you sitting up there come out of your own pocket? If, say, your job was a half hour away, your local volunteer department gets a fire call. Are you gonna leave work using your time, your money, knowing you're not gonna get paid the time you're gone from your work to go help the community? I promise you, not one of you up there would actually do it. You're sitting up here right now trying to determine the fate of a fire department that is asking for help, not to get their balls cut off. So please tell me why Varna was allowed to run 5 years with a single member. You guys didn't go after them, you helped them. You've got a department that's got several members, and I've had the pleasure of working with several of those members on calls that are willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. But you guys would rather give up the ghost on them. I don't understand it. Please explain to me, and I'm sure the folks out here would like to know as well. What is the ultimate gain from this? You're taking a valuable asset and resource away from a community that desperately needs it.
there,
Yeah.
you guys, we'll get to that at the end.
I just-
We'll get to that at the end.
Again, I'd like to know why does this make so much sense to you guys? When Varna ran for 5 years with a single member. And instead you guys turned around, rather than shutting them down, which I'm sorry, even I will be the first to admit. If I've got a department that ran with one member for 5 years,
Where did you hear that?
I would get it shut down.
Where?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
I'll just,
It's common knowledge.
that's not common knowledge, but anyhow, all right, thank you. Alright, so I'm gonna go on to Zoom. There's, I think, folks on there who might wanna. And I'll just go through the list on there, just, fire, someone labeled fire, did you wanna comment? If you do, unmute yourself.
Just ask them to volunteer if they want to.
I don't know, they might not, I mean, people might not.
No, they said no.
So, Karen Laparco, did you wanna comment? Dakota. Well, yeah, yeah, Karen, if you have questions, you can just ask them too. And then we'll. If you can unmute, and then you can just take a moment to.
Do you want my video on as well, or is it okay if I just speak? So the question that I have is that you have a FEMA Safer grant that has Aetna Fire on that, and the MOU, if you take them out of service, which is what you're intending to do, how do you retain this grant when the MOU specifically stipulates that any change to the departments on that MOU with FEMA, you'll have to return the monies that you used and forfeit the grant? Are you all willing to do that to the community?
First off, Karen, that's not going to happen because it was looked into by. Folks who are actually administering the grant, WB Strong, and I checked with the FEMA, their FEMA contact, and the grant will not be going away.
So you all reached out to FEMA and said, we are going to, in advance of any notification to any of the fire departments, you reached out to FEMA and asked them, if we take this fire department offline, do we lose our grant?
No.
No, because the town's not the party to the grant. It's the different departments.
Correct. So who made that call and then went to the board and said, we can do this, we can take them offline, put the community at risk, and still retain this grant money? And who gets that money when you take Aetna offline?
WB Strong to check into it when that issue was raised by Linda Fenner in her letter from the 28th. Because I wanted to make sure that what her claim was that we would lose the grant, whether that was actually true or not. And that's a negative. So.
I would love to see that in writing from FEMA.
It's been put in writing, so.
It's been put in writing.
Great, share it with the public.
Sure, do it right now. Unfortunately, it's not funny, but it is.
Are there any more people who are going to speak?
Maybe.
Okay.
Sharing thoughts.
Yes.
All that people.
Says hi, and you can read it, but it says hi, Rebecca. If Aetna Volunteer Fire Department dissolves, then that entity cannot participate in the grant, but we can continue the grant with the remaining departments. Please let me know what ends up happening with that. It's right up there.
Do you understand that we didn't choose to develop the town and chose that?
I don't think that is matter to them.
Say that.
Mhm.
There it doesn't.
It doesn't matter.
Linda, we looked in, I asked Rebecca to look into what you said in your letter, and that's the answer that came back. That's,
Did they understand that you guys chose not to contact, that we didn't choose to dissolve our department?
you're not dissolved, you're still a company.
You wrote dissolve, so they're under the impression that
I didn't write anything because I am not the contact with the FEMA representative. As we went through time and again over the year with all the departments about this grant, who did not want the town to be part of the administration of it. WB Strong took that over because they're the ones who are compiling all the receipts and everything else. So that is why I asked them to look into this. That's it. So if you have a question about what they asked, talk with WB Strong, okay? But she asked if we can show it. I'm showing it right there. All right, do you have any other questions, Karen?
I did have a question when it comes to voting on budgets. If you are a member of the town board, but you're also a volunteer fire person, do you have to abstain from voting on your own budget in your own interest?
Hi, it's Christina. I believe you're referring to me. I did speak to the attorneys at the Association of Towns at their conference last year, and I posed that question. And she said that it actually happens quite a bit throughout the state. There's a lot of volunteer firefighters who are also on town boards. And there's no conflict of interest as long as I'm not like the board president. I don't make the suggestion for the budget. I'm just a voting member of the town board.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Hey, Dakota Hall. Michelle Robinson. Okay, Stacy. Cooper. There's a phone number.
It's Rizzo.
Hmm?
It's Roy Rizzo.
Um, Right. Yeah. So there's,
All right, for me to address some of the questions that
yeah, if you wanna,
Um. So just to be clear. There haven't, at least I've not participated in back room conversations and such as you all, as a few people indicated. So as I speak responses, I want you to know they're coming from me, and my opinion. They may, some of my colleagues here may disagree with me and they can share that if they like. So I wasn't here when I've only, you all know, I've only been here a year and a half, so I cannot speak to past practices and previous fire departments over many, many years. Other than what I've learned from many of you over the last year and a half, as you guys have shared with me more and more about the town. And this is such an incredibly important topic, right? For the town safety, and also to me, the incredible volunteerism from everybody who volunteers for the Etna Fire Department. And I will say right up front that I know that there is literally nothing I can say that is probably going to make anyone feel better, or feel the respect that you deserve and you should be getting for the passion and the commitment and the time that you put in. I deeply admire you for what you do. my role here is how do you help make decisions for the entire community? And what I see is we were asked to give $250,000 to the Etna Fire Department. We have 4 fire departments, none of whom, in my opinion, are funded to be the best that they can be. And in looking at the numbers that were provided by the fire departments, by your leadership, looking at the information in the logs, seeing how much the other departments are the ones that are first on scene, often by a long period of time. I don't see how we keep paying that much money into that program. And wait, and I partly say this personally, because when you're looking at how much money we have and how much taxpayer funds we have, part of that also is around getting all the volunteers the best that they have, right? So it was hard for me when I hear that Aetna didn't get a plume event system, right? Because you guys deserve safety, right? You deserve that in your programs. But we can't demand that because you're on private entity. I also heard in November, the Chief Lobdell come in here and say that he was going to tell the 911 center to not call the other departments. And hold off on, yeah, yes, you did. Yes, you did. You talked about. And I heard the other chiefs speak up and say, talking about doing that in order to buy more time for people to respond, which is not the right thing from a safety perspective for the community. So these are things to me that weigh heavily, not because of my lack of respect for the volunteers, but because we seriously have to look at how do we spread these taxpayer dollars to get everyone what they need. And I say that seriously from the heart. And I know it doesn't answer all the questions that you asked, although I do want to say that there were questions asked about Anne-Marie, you asked about the dog shelter last month, and we do have information for you on that, but I don't think that we should mix that into this conversation here. So I just, for what it's worth, I wanted to share.
Alright, so I got something to say. So I get that, you got these different companies that are getting there first on scene, but I have a question. Are they speeding to do so and breaking the law to do so? Are they literally putting their communities at risk because they're speeding to call and high rate of speed or sirens when the protocol is not safe? So that is something that you're now looking at. And I will tell you that on numerous occasions, I watched Freeville's truck go 100+ miles an hour on West Drive Road.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Tom Lobdell taking firefighters and other people out of the road, they would run over. So that is not a good thing.
All right.
No, we're not doing that.
That was a rock right up to that.
Folks, we're not gonna start doing this because that's not a meeting then.
We showed up 2 minutes after, 3 minutes after. Last year, we pre-built 70 grand for a non-duty truck. That does not have one of them.
Tom, can you come up to the podium though and just say this stuff, please?
Well, the people can't hear you, and I'm pretty sure there's some people online who want to hear you.
Thomas Lobdell, Chief of Aetna. So the numbers that you keep talking about. Well, we showed up 5 minutes after, 3 minutes after. The town board last year gave Freeville $70,000 for their on-duty truck. There's no denying it was great for them to get it. So when the call goes out, they go out and they get in 769. Now they're en route to the call. If one of my members wants to go to the call, they've got to go all the way to the station, get a truck, or myself has to go and basically go as the chief. And you're up here saying that, well, the other departments get there faster. Well, the other departments have all 3 of the other fire departments have on-duty vehicles. Aetna does not. The board simply decided that we didn't need one. Well, then we never really asked for one either. But you're up here trying to compare apples to oranges. And it just makes everybody in my department feel like you're just dumping on them. So you're trying to compare numbers, and obviously the other departments that give you the reports, they want more money for covering the calls. Well, I understand that, but that's also against the county and state mutual aid agreement. And I did read the whole thing. And so to use the numbers as the reason, I don't believe is right for the Etna Fire Department.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
So I would just like to say that, you know, our number one objective, we run for office to be here, is to serve the people of Dryden and to take care of the people and the property in Dryden and make this a place. And to make sure this is a place where people can be safe and happy and prosperous. That's why we run for office. That's why we're here. We have to manage a lot of programs for this town. And so, listen, you know, if you don't want me to talk, we'll end this meeting right now. We'll end this hearing. If you want to hear from me, I'm going to say a few things. If you shout me down, that's not what I'm in for. Okay. Let me just give you the ground rules. All right. And so we're extremely grateful to all the firefighters in this town, in this county, in the state. We know it's a big sacrifice. This is not personal. We have to be stewards of town tax dollars. We have to be good managers. Some of us study management. Some of us really get into this stuff and try and look how to best allocate tax dollars. There isn't one metric that guided our decision on who to contract with, which, by the way, is our decision. We take the town tax money and we try to figure out how to spend it as wisely as possible. Now, in the last 10 years, we have been pretty generous with our fire departments because the needs have been there. But our budget has ballooned. We're spending twice today, about 1.6 million that we spent 10 years ago. So it was said earlier that we're taking things away from the fire departments, anything but. We're stepping up and the town taxpayers are stepping up. But with that means we have to look a little closer at what we're doing with this money and which departments are performing and which might need to look at, you know, other options, maybe joining the other departments. That's up to you. But what we want to communicate is that the protection is going to be there. The protection's there right now. The people in the Etna zones are getting served by tremendous volunteers and departments, and that's going to continue. And I want to make sure the public understands that. No one's going to go unprotected in this town. We just have to look a little more efficiently at how we manage our equipment and volunteers and town taxpayers. I mean, you know, the town of Ithaca, city of Ithaca, I should say, fire department, they respond to 5 times as many calls as we do in Dryden with half the apparatus. There's got to be a way for us to be a little bigger than us too. Yes, I know, but we have a lot, we have an opportunity to be more efficient here. And any way you want to counter argument that you have to admit that we could be more efficient. And so it's not one thing, it's a pattern of things over years. And not one person guiding this. We've collected information from the county, from other departments. We've asked for performance standards in past contracts and we've been rebuffed. We've been told that we can't dictate operational standards in our contracts. We actually can, but we haven't. And because the pushback was so strong from some of the departments. We've looked at some of the individual budgets, the line items. I'm not going to go in and argue about them right now, but they didn't meet our standard for being good taxpayer dollar stewards. So we're making a tough decision here. I don't like doing this. This is probably my least favorite thing that we've had to do in my 8 years on the town board. This is a tough decision. And I would say past town boards have pushed this off, have punted, have not taken it on. But for us to live up to the standards that people expect of this board and of this town to be efficient with taxpayer dollars, we have to make tough decisions. That's what government is about. That's what being an elected official is about, is making decisions. And sometimes they're tough. Sometimes they hurt some people. But I think for the greater good, we're doing the right thing. And that's why we've resolved to do this. This isn't, in fact, a decision we're making tonight. It's a decision we made last month, but we had a clerical error, and now we're having to redo this hearing. And obviously, it's giving you more time to process and perhaps think of things that you don't like about this decision. But you know, we came to this a month ago. So if we seem a little short or a little, you know, like the decision's already been made, it's not. It wasn't done in a back room. It was just done a month ago. We don't have a back room.
Hold on, there's Michelle Robinson's got a comment and.
We volunteers ourselves doing this work for the public. And so.
Listen, we're not, this is
Yeah,
not.
have some fun with this. What's that?
Are you getting a paycheck?
Yeah, but we're practically volunteers. I said we're practically volunteers.
No, you're not.
Okay, can we go back and forth, please?
We're doing this as public service. We're doing what we think is the best interest of the town. Thank you.
Town fire department.
In a rural area, you don't have, so you just remember that.
Hang on, there's two, all right, so Michelle Robinson's got a comment. She's on Zoom, so Michelle, and then Karen's got another question.
Okay, as far as the city of Ithaca's apparatus, the city of Ithaca may have one or two less pieces of apparatus, but they also don't have the distance and mileage or have to cover the distance and mileage that the town of Dryden has to cover.
Yeah.
So for them to have a couple less pieces of apparatus actually makes sense.
They have 5 times as many calls per year and half the equipment. If you don't like those metrics, I'm sorry. That's just.
Right. I just want to say the board made a decision on false information. If you're going based on calls, it was false information because we made 100% of our fire calls and we missed 17% of our EMS calls that are backed up by Dryden ambulance. And the other issue that I have is that when someone gets to a scene, and if we have mutual aid that is sent on the first activation, because to help get personnel to a scene to protect someone, then you slow down and don't respond as fast because there's already people on the patients. So you slow down before you get there because there's no point in putting anyone else in danger rushing to get to a scene. So I just hope that, you know, you're saying you're making a decision for the greater good of the community, and it's actually, it will come back to bite you. It might not be this year, but it will come back to bite you because you know what? It is a countrywide that volunteers are disappearing. People do not volunteer anymore, and fire service is one of the hardest things because of what you have to do to keep up with your certifications and everything else. So you made a decision for a department that's been in operation for 50 years and you're getting rid of 26 members and just saying, hey, go join another department because we're getting rid of yours. So I hope it doesn't happen, but you will eventually see that this was actually a bad decision.
Thank you, Michelle.
There's a gentleman here who
Yeah, but there's someone, Karen
Sorry.
had to put her hand up. Again, Karen, do you have a?
I do. So I have some budget questions I need some clarification. So the budgets that are submitted by the fire departments were submitted, I looked back in the records in January, I believe.
No.
Or November of 2023, and then reviewed in January. So when I looked at the request for the budget for Aetna, and then I looked at the request for the budget from Dryden, they were both the same amount of money. But then when I looked at the minutes and the follow-up finance or budget reports, I noticed that you doubled Dryden's, which means if I look at it, maybe I need new glasses or something, I don't know. But if I look at it, I saw that you took from Aetna's budget and put it into it. I mean, it just happens to match up in my, back of the envelope calculating. To that you, the town, or the whatever, came back and said, we're gonna take that money and we're gonna put it into Dryden. Is that the case, or am I looking at these figures and these finances that are on your website? Am I looking at them incorrectly?
Directly, I don't know what you're looking at. It's definitely not this year's budget, and what was proposed by me back in November was to move 75,000 from Aetna to WB Strong. And then I moved that reduced contract amount for Aetna. Well, yeah, but 2023, we didn't double like that. And we also, the budgets are proposed by the departments in no later than September, not November. We don't review them in January. I don't know what that is.
I'm just going by what's on your town board website, and when the materials arrive that we can view to look at what the budget is going on. So I am seriously concerned that what we see on the website is not reflecting, what's happening, or vice versa. So I'm just curious.
I was telling you what happened this past year and this past budget. The year before, I have to look at it again, but definitely, we didn't talk about it in January because we would have voted on the budget in November. And we didn't double Neptune's in a 1 year period. That's not, and if you're looking at Neptune's, like, I don't know where, if you're looking at their budget from their department, they also get money from the village, so.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to understand when you post these finance and budget things online. You get one from the actual department, and then you come back with a budget. This is what I'm trying to understand. Or they develop a budget, send it to the town board and say, this is what we'd like, and then you come back and say yes or no. At what point, you're telling me in December is when you made the decision to take Aetna offline, and you're saying that these decisions are made in September, budget-wise? I guess the timeline doesn't match up for me in the sense of like the decision that you made to pull the plug on Brooktondale as well as Aetna. It just, I'm not.
This is that in September, the departments provide the town board with their proposed budgets. We schedule meetings with them in October, and then the budget is voted on in November. And that is the total town budget. And this year, the fire departments were broken out to their own separate public hearing on their contracts, because we set in the total town budget a total amount to spend on fire protection. And then at the later meeting is when the 4 contracts were proposed. And 3 departments received a contract. But we had to hold this meeting again tonight just because of a notice issue, but in any case, and then Aetna, when I moved that one, there was no second, and that's based on discussions that occurred in October, during the department budget meetings, and then for later on in November again, about what was said. And this is information provided to us by the departments to the board about what was going on calls. And it's all done in public. You can rewatch the meetings if you'd like. And
Not online.
we can get you a copy of the video if you'd like to see it. And we just put up a new website. So, that's what happened this year. So, are there any more comments from the public? I did have 2 other.
Just want to follow up on what you're going to do with the revised budget then of 173,500. you're telling me you're a good steward of taxpayer dollars, right? But this is, you have to answer to this too. So what's happening with that?
And that'll be discussed at another meeting about how to, now that we have Varna and Freeville covering that territory for the time being, they're gonna have to get compensated for that. So we have to do something with,
Will there be a public hearing for that, and will it be announced in a timely fashion?
of course it will.
Okay,
Um,
thank
Oh.
you.
And then, so the other,
The assets they need to provide the coverage that the
all right,
residents.
so there's two other people who walked in and signed up for a speaker sign. So there's a D Lapman and Betsy Lapman. Yeah. Whoever wants to go first.
Sorry, I was late for the, but. So the. Law says that you have to provide fire coverage, not EMS coverage, right? And the. Objection to awarding a contract to Aetna was that they are ineffective in the town board's eyes in responding to EMS calls.
I don't think they haven't met our expectations.
So that
They're kind of-
the view is that they are ineffective in.
If you read the contract, it says they will respond to all calls, and
Yeah.
that didn't happen.
Yeah, so yes, so that they are ineffective in responding to EMS calls.
Read the contract if you have a question about this.
So. Is there a reason why the contract is written that way?
Because that's the service that we want to provide to the
Yeah.
town. That's why it's written that way.
Yeah.
So so are you getting at a solution to this? Is that where you're leading up? to?
So theoretically, has been last year a solution to this. That between 2024 and 2025, there'll be roughly no change in what the town expects, in that they're getting a response from Varna or Freeville. The town expects a response from Varna and Freeville for.
Varna and Freeville explained to us in November that they've been responding
Yeah.
to
Yes, so
all types of calls of well, everything that would be covered under the contract in the Aetna territory.
yes,
Yeah.
And fire.
so what I'm saying is that the town expects it to be just as sufficient going forward in 2025 to have Aetna not respond to any calls, to EMS calls, but for this sake of this argument, not to respond to any EMS calls, and that would be a acceptable change, and that the town board doesn't see that as an actual change in what is actually happening on the ground.
But I'm not sure. The town board doesn't see it as a change.
Completely.
We see that calls are being responded to right now.
Yes,
We
but
think
the
with
ta-
more resources, the other departments could do that even better. And I do want to address the first thing that you brought up, the very first provision of the contract, and I have it right in front of me, says the company shall respond to all calls for service generated by the Tompkins County 911 Center, responding promptly with suitable apparatus, equipment, and qualified trained personnel. The company shall keep and maintain in good repair suitable and adequate firefighting and EMS response apparatus, together with all equipment necessary to discharge its responsibilities under this agreement.
Yes, so.
So we have to meet that.
Yes,
And if
so
the contract is not being met, then we don't
Yes,
have a contract.
So. Is the town I assume writes the contract?
Yes. Well, we do it in collaboration.
Yes, in collaboration with the department. So the town is able to modify what their expectations are.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to struggle, but I am struggling with what you're
The-
saying.
that the town is the one that decided that they would require everyone to go on all calls generated by 911 dispatch, which is not true because people don't respond to all calls in their districts. That
So I'm
the
still,
response plan,
I'm still trying to understand what your point is.
I think what he's trying to get at is that, how about we ask them to do less and come up with a smaller contract?
yes, that is what I'm suggesting, is that if the town
Which is what
thinks
Linda
that-
sent to everybody on the 28th.
Okay, so what you're trying to say is that we should have a contract, not for EMS,
yes,
but only for fire.
that the state law requires that you have fire service. And the town thinks it is good, and I think it's good to have EMS. That if it is practical to write a contract that says what is reasonable, that can be done. That having a contract that specifies the same thing for every single department in the town doesn't make much sense. Especially when we're talking about Dryden Fire Department having the same contract as Barnum.
So are you suggesting that the Etna residents don't get the rescue response?
No, I'm suggesting that the town be adaptable and consider things other than having every single department have the same expectations, such as that Dryden respond to rescue calls when they are based at the same building as the ambulance, which doesn't seem to me to make much sense. And that I don't know the exact response plans of every department, but I know that some departments are not dispatched to certain calls. And whether or not that is a call generated by a dispatch, I don't know. But my main suggestion is that the town be adaptable in its contracts instead of writing one blanket contract, that write contracts based on what is feasible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Betsy?
I wrote a letter because I'm not much of a speaker.
Oh, that's fine.
But my main points are, I really appreciate the volunteer departments. They put in a huge amount of time and energy. And they do, yeah, they do. My husband was in the highway department, and highway department county used to be called out for down trees. Now the volunteer fire departments are. Because the county is saving money by not getting trees out of the road, you know? And we've got so many neighbors and our family who have really benefited from being able to call. You know, when someone who's older falls down and just can't get up, it's nice that someone will wake up in the middle of the night and go help them. But I think there's another side of it also, which is the whole idea of social capital or building community. The volunteer organizations really build community that hired people do not. And these guys are out there building relationships among themselves, the men and women in the departments, also building relationships with the people they serve. But then they hold craft fairs, pancake breakfasts, Halloween parties. All these things, which gives neighbors chances to talk to each other, form relationships, build bonds, and that's what makes a community. And that's really important. And if you dismantle that, you are eliminating something you cannot replace. And they're also an example to other people. I mean, 4-H, Scouts, any volunteer organization is struggling to get volunteers. And you don't solve that problem by not encouraging volunteerism. I guess that's my main point.
Well, thank you. Anybody else?
If I could just touch on one other thing real quick.
Yeah, just if you can come up real quick, yeah.
This is just a random thought, but somebody was speaking earlier of the excess budget, which I can assume is going to be divided among departments once Aetna is not considered an entity. How about you take that money, since it seems the big problem here, at least from what I'm hearing, is that They didn't make EMS calls. They missed 17% of them. Got a couple of solutions to that. They've already told you, they got members in CFR. You've got members trying to become the medical personnel needed. And it doesn't matter what department you're with. Cause I've heard Dryden, they're calling for TLC because the rigs are so busy, or Bangs is calling Dryden, or vice versa, whatever the case may be. Again, rather than completely shutting down a department, take a little bit of that funding, give them a little more time, help them out. Help your fellow community members. Don't take away the one service that I know, I can say that at least 80% of these people in here rely on. Because Dryden's department might be too far away, or God forbid, Freeville and Warren can't get somebody out the door. There's a solution, and that's take that extra money and help these guys out. That's all I'm asking. Give these guys a fair shake. You guys were willing to go 5 years with a single member running one department and responding to calls. Give these guys a chance to get their shit back together, which is what they're trying to do. That's all I've got to say on that matter, but I'm saying seriously consider what you guys are looking at doing. You're looking at taking a vital lifeline away from the community.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing. And then I guess we'll just move on to the voting on those contracts right now. I mean, that is not on there right now. Linda, I'll have to talk with you about your letter and stuff. So we can do that probably beginning of next week. I'll talk with you. I mean, you have 4 other people here. I gotta talk with me and you can talk.
Requested a apartment next to our station. I have to give them an answer soon as to whether we're gonna be able to take that or not. To be
I would-
We had the things in place to be able to fix our problem and to be able to run. So.
Well, I mean, can you,
To do that.
can you come by here? Like tomorrow, like, I don't know, 11 o'clock or so, like 11:30? Are you able to, or if not? Over the,
I'll try to make it work.
if you can, then just let me know what would work for you.
What's this mean about?
I just want to hear what they want. So. Yeah, if you can't tomorrow, just let me know. It's fine. We could figure out something. Just so you can tell me more about what you're thinking about. Okay. So, yeah, so the first contract to vote on would be the Neptune hose company for $595,503. So I'll move that.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes, right. The Varna Volunteer Fire Company for $440,000. Move that.
Second.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and WB Strong Fire Company of Freeville, $397,000, $397,448. Move that.
Second.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, all right, thanks. There's not a net, no one to talk about, to vote on right now, so, we'll, like I said, I'll talk with Linda and we'll see what she's thinking. Okay. That's all, I wanna talk to him, you don't have to, it's me doing this, okay?
Sounds like you want it.
All right, thanks, everybody. So next up, we got resolutions to go, we're gonna pull them up, from the highway department. One's to purchase 2 plow packages and one is to sell 2 vehicles, so I'm just gonna pull the resolutions out. So this is on the board, is the resolution to purchase 2 plow packages for new town vehicles purchased from Tracy's and plow equipment from Henderson, not to exceed $350,000 with money coming from DA 5130.2. It's per the Onondaga County contract, so move that.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, the next resolution is,
Did you have?
the public hearings it's closed now,
You're gonna vote on the contract?
no, we're not voting on that one right now, but. I'm gonna talk with Linda first and see what she's thinking, and then we'll see what happens, okay? So this next resolution is to sell 2 town vehicles, number 13, 2014 Western Star, and number 2, 2018 Chevy Silverado. With the proceeds from the sale to be put into DA 5130.2. So I'll move that.
Second. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, no, yes. All right. Is Mike Lee
No.
here or no?
He's not here.
Nobody.
Okay, there's another resolution to approve the amendment to the municipal cooperative agreement for the Greater Tompkins County Municipal Health Insurance Consortium.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's on the screen. I'm gonna move this now.
Second.
It's a person, Maurice Mendez.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, so then next up, we have the,
You guys turn your microphones up? Sounds like a private conversation you're having up there.
I think what you're hearing is probably out in the hallway.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, that's.
I can even hear my voice out there. I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, the doors are shut.
All right. So next week, we have a public hearing or 2 public hearings, proposed local law exemptions for persons with disabilities, as property tax exemptions, and then another one for increasing the maximum exemption allowable under the alternative veterans exemption. Those are both at 6:05. And then, next. All right, the next set of, resolutions we have, are for the organizational meeting part of this. Did everybody have a chance to look at this
Yeah.
before?
Yes, it's fabulous reading.
Is there anything really different about this edition? Made the
No.
assumption that-
Yeah,
I made the
Yeah.
assumption that it was like the other ones.
pretty much.
We need to make an appointment to the recreation partnership.
Yeah. I'm just gonna share it and scroll through it. So it shows up on the video. So we did the abstract part from earlier. Right, so then this will be resolution, rules of procedure one, we'll move that.
Second.
I think we could, we just then need,
Don't we, don't
yeah.
we have to fill
What
this?
we
in
need
the
to
other-
do then is for the rec partnership, I think that would have been Marty.
Marty that brings the information.
Yeah, so that'd be Marty.
Resolution number 23 for the rep to the AOT meeting. I'm going with you.
Yeah. Are you going? I'm going and then, yeah. Do you wanna, I mean, if you don't wanna, like, if you wanna be the voting
We're gonna
rep,
talk about it.
I mean, do you wanna do that or
I'll be there. So
I'll be there too,
Yeah.
so, okay.
Change the schedule, it's not like the last thing.
Oh, it's not. Okay,
Yeah, I mean, if you feel like doing that, then you can do it.
sure.
Okay.
You want a break? You can sit in that.
No, I'm not gonna argue if someone else wants to, because that thing, you know, I mean, last year. There were a handful of things to vote on and nothing ever came of it anyway.
What are the dates?
I have a family medical situation.
It's the week of
You want my
President's Day
stuff?
week.
February
No,
16th.
it's the
through the
same.
20th.
Yeah, they're all at the same
I
time.
could finally go.
Yeah,
But this means the rest of the alternate.
yeah, and I'll be the alternate, and then the certificates in the office, so I gotta sign, I'll take care of that tomorrow.
Is that the only?
Jason, do we amend, it's in resolution 20, the fair housing officer, I wanted to put Gina in that position, she got written in. But I also want to maintain myself as a fair housing officer because I'm on the CDBG paperwork. And that still goes through one more year. So look at this as a transition, and that way I don't have to.
You and Gina?
Yep.
Okay.
So that way I don't have to report to them a change of fair housing officer.
Okay.
Gives me an hour back in my life.
So just, yeah, the February second meeting is the week of the AOT thing. It's that Thursday, just so, I mean, I'm just gonna let you know, I probably won't be back.
The February 2nd,
The February,
Oh.
the second board meeting in a
second
month.
meeting is,
Yeah, so we keep the same schedule, but I'm just gonna let you know, like, I'm probably not gonna be back.
I'll be back.
I'm here.
That would-
we can make all the decisions.
So that'll be just for.
You can go wild,
Yeah,
Jason.
you can do whatever you want, you can, but I'm probably not gonna be back, so it's,
Spending the week on them.
I'll probably go see my mom, who. You know, not doing all that well, so.
Okay.
Who's in the recreation partnership?
All right, so I'll just, so otherwise we'll keep the same schedule.
24.
Regulation partnership.
Oh, yeah, 24. Who's the recreation partnership? Is that you? Oh, Marty.
Marty, yeah.
Marty.
Um. And then as far as the committee assignments, does anybody want to change anything? Or do you want more?
Does anyone need a
If somebody
backup?
wants to take ZBA, that would be great. I don't,
I'd like to keep working with planning because we're not done with this comp plan update. Might need you to attend a meeting or two in spring,
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
it's
not gonna do
fine.
that.
or one of you can, because I have a Thursday night class I have to teach a couple times,
Yeah,
twice.
no, I'm happy to do it.
Which one is that?
Planning.
anybody want to take ZBA? It's not that much.
How much is it? How many nights a month?
They don't even meet, they don't even meet.
First Tuesday of the month, and they probably meet half of the months.
Yeah, they don't meet very often.
So as you.
CBA,
Yeah,
Unless you wanna, you
Yeah.
want ZBA?
you're gonna do the planning.
I'm gonna back him up on some Thursday nights. You want ZBA?
No. Okay.
Okay.
Too many.
that's
Anyone
Spring's got it.
The other one?
Which one?
No. No.
Otherwise, you just leave the rest of it.
Too many meetings.
And we can always switch up later if we need to. Spring for ZBA, and yeah. Okay. All right, so I guess with all that, I'll just move the entire group once.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Just let me answer and finish scrolling through it. Yes, yeah, I did.
I'm bummed. I kind of wanted to go AOT.
And then,
My slot, I have a family medical situation.
No, it's finally going. It's finally happening when Cornell has its break.
Did you go?
okay, well, all right, so we don't, is there any,
My slot, I have. a
Ray, did you have
family
anything
medical
to do?
situation.
Yeah.
No,
Multiple people can go.
I mean, as far as next week's agenda, there will be a presentation about that
Have
deconstruction.
you gone?
Paid for.
Yeah, I
but
didn't
it's not a
know.
hearing or anything.
that's what Gina sent out.
It's already reserved. I'm reserved, just, I'm signed up, I'm paid
But,
for.
okay,
it.
so decide.
Hold on, guys, hold on.
When does this one to be in February?
What do you, what's going on?
They all want to come with us now.
Oh,
No, we're just
okay.
talking about AOT.
Damn.
All right, we can figure that out later.
Oh, we can.
You can figure that out.
What's going on in your end?
I'm going. To
I know
AOT,
about it.
Christine's going. No, what Ray has said, we have a presentation next week about
The
Gina.
deconstruction.
What is the deconstruction?
Oh, it's just as far as supporting that deconstruction and reuse industry for our
EPA.
town.
Oh.
Grant.
Well,
EPA.
it's separate from the EPA grant. The EPA grant is behind us. We put that in last month. But now this is a resolution that is in support of the deconstruction industry, basically. So we don't have anything in the New York State Energy Code. That'll be somewhere down the road, but at least this starts the groundswell to get towards that. Because that'll take, years to get that written into code.
Okay,
And there'll be a presentation on it from the crowd, which is the advocating organization. So we can do that ahead of the hearings or after the hearings or,
Diane's gonna present.
there's no, maybe a hearing,
well, there's no hearing associated with this, but I
Yeah.
think 2 other hearings on the,
yeah. You're talking about on the grant,
no. The grant is in the past, but the
Right.
deconstruction resolution will be for.
and that's not. Yeah, but you just mentioned a hearing though. There's
No,
no,
the 2 hearings on the agenda already are the only hearings that.
right, but you're talking about a hearing on the deconstruction
No, it's
resolution.
just a presentation.
Right, okay, that's what I thought.
Resolution going to the county or to the state? It's not coming
It's-
here, right?
It's a resolution from the town board in support of. Auburn has been the first municipality in the state to pass something similar. Will be the second in, and hopefully this starts kind of domino effect.
Okay, because we'll, all right,
Did you already send that?
It was just sent out by Gina.
Gina sent it out today, so it should be posted on the website too,
Yeah.
so if there's a resolution associated with this and.
Yep.
And the
Passing out
presentation.
the board docs for next
Okay.
week.
Almost questions. It's near and dear to my heart.
It is.
It
Get
is.
this.
Reproduction is a
No.
big thing, but deconstruction is a complex topic and I have lots of questions.
I gave my wife used items for Christmas.
Deconstruction, it's not a philosophical area?
No,
Oh,
no,
From
this,
Finger Lakes.
that's a totally different topic.
okay. I was thinking about that.
Talk about it too if you want.
We don't have anything else, so I'm gonna just move to adjourn. We don't have anything else to do. All right. I don't have anything, nothing else on the agenda here, so unless you all, someone else said something. you need to
Bernardo
bring
wants
up.
to talk about philosophical deconstruction movement, but.
What? Is that a joke?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.